So my first computer, right, the first computer I wrote for was a ZX81 with 1K of memory. So my first game was on the ZX81 in 1981. Okay, and then the Spectrum, the beautiful Spectrum, and then the Atari, and then the Atari and then the Amiga. But when I got my first PC, it was a 386, and it had, I don't know, 64 meg of RAM. I mean, it was unbelievable amounts of RAM. And when that was when I was working at Activision as the head of development, and this was an expensive PC. It was over £1,000, which back in this would have been '88, so it was a really expensive piece of kit. And then when Activision collapsed and I founded Revolution, I gave my computer to these programmers, okay? And it was my pride and joy. They had to, when they transported it, they put it in a seatbelt, okay? With across here and across here, but also with wrapping, so that if they had a crash, my wonderful PC would be safe. So we wrote our first, a prototype for the first game, which is called Lure of the Temptress. This was in about 1991. And a very good friend of mine called Sean Brennan, who used to work at Mirrorsoft and then Virgin, said that he would love to publish our games if I wanted to go back into development. So these programmers came down, two of the founders of the company, Tony Warriner and David Sykes, and we were going to go and pitch the game to Mirrorsoft. And if it was successful, Revolution existed, and if it wasn't, then we were going to, you know, go off and do other things. So they were in Hull and I was in London, and they drove down with the PC strapped into the back really carefully. And they arrived in London, and I gave them a glass of wine, and we talked about what we were going to do and everything. And the next morning, I went down to the car, and somebody had broken into it, and they'd stolen the radio. But guess what we'd forgotten to unload? My pride and joy, my 386, and it was still on the back seat. So a thief had broken in to steal the radio, but hadn't taken my 386. And if they had taken the 386, we wouldn't have been able to afford. We didn't have any backup, so everything would have been lost.
The whole source code was on the machine.
And that would have been it. That would have been it. There would have been no Revolution.
That's luck.
That is luck, isn't it? We've had a lot of luck, actually. I think you need luck. I think you need luck.
Luck and the joy of risk.
The joy of risk. You know what? In English they say you make your own luck. In other words, you're lucky, but because you take risks and you do the right thing. Anyway, I'm really sorry, because that is absolutely nothing to do with Broken Sword 5, Chevalier de Baphomets, the game, which is what we're here to talk about.
I was one of the founders, so played it in the early version.
Oh, you're one of the backers, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, because I loved the first, the second part. The third part, I didn't like the third person, and in the VSD part, I'm a point-and-click fan. And after that, I've played the Fan Adventure 2.5.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Was that ever translated into French?
No, I don't think so. I have played in German, English, but I don't think so. It's that they've translated in France. And after that, I heard, okay, there was a fourth part of Broken Sword, and then I heard that the founder and the man of the idea behind it started the Kickstarter, and I have to back it. Yes, Broken Sword 5, go for it.
Thank you. That's
yes.
And you will know them better. But it would be interesting if I tell you what I think was happening, then you can tell me whether you agree. So when we launched it in 2012, we were lucky because I'd intended to launch it in about June, and then we had delays in making the movie, and then August came, and with Gamescom in the middle, I decided that actually I'd launch it just after Gamescom. Now, that actually, in hindsight, was genius, because it meant that we could prime the press, and there would be an awful lot of press once the game released. Now, again, it was all good luck, because I hadn't intended to do that at all. It seemed like a strategic stroke of genius, but it was actually just fortunate. So, but what it meant that there was this tsunami of press when we launched it, and we got pledges of $127,000 in the first day. So we got a third of our Kickstarter amount. And the thing that I'm really proud of is that clearly we did things that we said we were going to and then didn't deliver on them. But we communicated with everybody about this. So for example, I'd said very naively that the game was going to be finished the next April. And when it was clear that it was actually going to go to the end of the year, I really worried about how I communicated this, because I thought that there would be an awful lot of backlash. And so I carefully worded this release saying, look, I'm really sorry, but it's actually going to be the end of the year. And we did get a lot of people coming back. Half of them said, well, we never believed you in the first place. And the other half of the people said, well, we've been waiting 5 years, so it doesn't matter, we'll gladly wait a bit longer. And it was extraordinary. And what I realized from that was that for our community, it wasn't Revolution's game, it's our game. We are part of this journey. And if you understand that, you'd understand, as I came to understand, that as long as you were, as a lot of people have come back to us to say they really enjoyed it, that they'd love to do it again, that it's the best Kickstarter they've ever done. We had one girl who was so emotional about it, and she basically was talking about the fact that during the 30 days where the campaign was actually going, we were raising funds, she would spend 1 or 2 hours asleep, and the rest of the time she was glued after work, glued to the internet to see the figure going up and up, and she was so excited when we reached the strap. And that's what, I'm very proud of the fact that we brought along our supporters, because we kind of delivered what we said, not necessarily when, but they were part of the experience. So when we launched the actual video, you know, George's jaw was rather strange, and people came back and they said, hang on, the jaw's a bit, and so we changed it. And people were thrilled. But from our perspective, we were delighted that people were feeding back, because they were absolutely right, and it was really interesting and informative. And from their perspective, they were delighted that they were a part of this and they were giving feedback that we were listening to. So it really was a win-win scenario. And it was only ever going to go wrong if we screwed it up, because there was so much goodwill. And broadly, I hope that we didn't. I hope that people will feel that we delivered what we said and stuck to our part. And because of that, there's a lot of goodwill, which is great.
I agree with that, because you have a few things that you're planning, and after the doing, maybe you find out that it's not working or it's not okay for this thing. And if you describe it to the people, to the community, in a direct way, not about PR or something or a newsletter. Okay, we have tried that. It's not good in this decision to integrate this and this. I think that the people will understand this, and I'm also understand some other decisions.
Well, that's interesting. But I would, you know, for new games, with point and click, we came up with a prototype that kind of solved all the problems. It said, this is what the backgrounds are going to look like, this is what the characters are going to look like, so you know what you're buying into. If I were to do it again for a different project, I would always want to get to the point at which I have a prototype, so that I can say to people, this is what it's going to be like. If you go to people and say, actually I don't know what it's like, then there's a real risk that actually it won't work out, and that's when you get bad feeling. And other developers have done the same thing, and in many ways, you know, they've fallen foul of their community, because the community feels that they've been let down. And there are lots where people are asking for their money back and feel that actually the developer made promises that they didn't deliver on.
Yeah, that's a problem, I know. Also, it's difficult to ask some people, because few people or 1,000 people are going in different ways. One, it's okay, for the other not. For the other version was better, and it's hard to make all the decisions right for the people. Yes, but
yeah,
I think if you get...
We had a few people that felt very passionately that we should sell draw, but that was not feasible. It really wasn't feasible, not in high definition. I don't think we could have done it, even if we wanted to. And even if we could, it would have been so expensive. So, you know, that was really at the beginning of a few people. But we never promised that. We promised that we were going to do those pre-rendered sprites that we would make look as much as possible as drawn sprites. But we were quite clear on what we were going to do. And so a few people came back and said, oh God, we wish you'd do this. but we never promised to. We never even suggested that we would. So there was no doubt that we'd kept to what we said.
I think my opinion is I like this game as it is. I like the graphic style because it looks like the classic version, a little bit polished, but the same hair of George. I like this background and the style, and I don't want it to be also in completely 3D, for example. I don't like it. So this is for me Baphomets Fluch in for Broken Sword, and I'm proud of it and I like it. I bought it after that also as retail version because of a fan, and I hope that we get a sixth part maybe.
And I have nice ideas for a sixth part, which I'm not working on at the moment. But it's lovely to be, because obviously as an independent developer, if you rely on a publisher for funding, then you pitch ideas, and you have to pitch them, and they have to decide whether, when the game's finished in 18 months' time, they will only commission it if they have confidence that a retailer will have confidence that gamers will buy it. So there are all of these steps. Whereas what we can do now is we can communicate directly with our community and say, these are our ideas, what do you think, will you support us? And it's a much purer relationship, and it works, you know, for an independent developer, it works much better.
Great. I heard something about in the past that someone told, I think maybe you was it, point and click maybe is death. Or some people, because action shooters, yes, you know, action shooter, third person, but no one plays point and click adventure. But that, I think, like Dedelic or other companies are making good adventure, and I think is the same moment. Have you the same opinion now that point and click is dead?
That's a very naughty question.
Yeah.
You promised you weren't going to ask me any difficult questions.
Only one.
I did once say point and click was dead, but I was right. I was right, because what happened is that when PlayStation was very successful, the retailers stopped stocking PC games, and in particular they stopped stocking games that were considered to be niche, like adventures. And so because they weren't going to stock adventures, it meant the publishers wouldn't commission them. So point and click was dead. So Now, I'm not saying that it was dead in the minds of the audience. I'm saying, what I was saying is that commercially it was dead. And if it hadn't been for the ability to distribute our games digitally, there is no way that we would have been able to do another point and click. It is because of this wonderful opportunity to distribute games, to sell them through portals like Steam or the Apple Store or Google Store or whatever, and then the ability to communicate with your audience has totally changed everything. So I know that it was a thing that I said, but I would defend that at that time, under those circumstances, I was correct.
Yes, it was a time when it's difficult to make games for such amount of money, but be successful. So if somebody says, "Hey, I'm making an action shooter for 3 million, and I want a point-and-click adventure for 1.5," maybe someone will say, "No, I don't think so. It's a good decision." So it's a risk. It's a risk.
It was a risk. Yeah.
Okay. I hope this adventure is great. Now it's on the next-gen consoles. The first time.
Yep.
I think first time. Yes.
On this current gen, but Broken Sword 1 came out on PlayStation 1. Sorry, Broken Sword 1 and 2 came out on PlayStation 1. Broken Sword 3 came out on PlayStation 2, and now Broken Sword 5 is coming out on PlayStation 5. Broken Sword 5 is coming out on PlayStation 4, and also on Xbox One. But Broken Sword 3 came out on the original Xbox.
Okay.
So we've split. So we have quite a lot of experience, and of course Broken Sword 5 is out on Vita as well. It was out last year on Vita. So we have quite a lot of experience of working on consoles, and the games have been very successful on consoles. So it's important for us. And I mean, we have two real benefits. The first one is that both Sony and Microsoft have been really helpful. They've really embraced the indie scene, and we've been enormous beneficiaries of that. But also our partner, our publishing partner, Koch, who are publishing the retail versions. We have a great partnership with them because, you know, we fund and we develop the games, and they publish them at retail, and everybody wins. It's a win-win scenario.
great. I think it's great because I think also somebody like me, I grew up in the '82 when I was born. It's beyond the '81 when the concept was when the first playable concept what you have done was
So you were born in '82, were you?
Yes. So I love something in the hands, the retail versions. So I like it when if it's not dead. You can publish, okay, it's good for Kickstarter or something. I also love digital ways because it's easy to deliver, it's easy to download, and if I want to play again, I don't have to search it because I know where I get it. But I'm proud of it to put it in my office, in my cupboard, and then look, okay, with the 1, with the 2, 3, 4. Also with the 1 and 2, I also the discs. I don't know how to play it, maybe in VM, virtual machines, but I have also the
1 and 2.
1 and 2,
yeah.
yes.
Do you know, you can play it, but you have to play it through ScumVM.
Yes.
So, I mean, ScumVM, and to change the subject totally, ScumVM are interesting because when we wrote Lure of the Temptress and Beneath the Steel Sky, they were DOS. And when DOS was not continued on Windows 98, effectively they were gone. They couldn't be played anymore. And the ScumVM guys came and they resurrected all of these adventures that were DOS-based. And I think we owe ScumVM a huge debt of gratitude because they brought it to the public consciousness, and that's why we gave Beneath the Steel Sky and Lure of the Temptress away for free, because it was of no value to us until ScumVM came along. But Broken Sword was, because that was never a DOS game. That was always based, obviously, on Windows. So it continued to work through different iterations. So I would think it would work, but if not, then
it's working. It's working. I've played it. It's working.
Fantastic.
So I like the old games. Beneath the Steel Sky was very great.
Great.
I played it as I was young. I played it then much times more than now, because if you grow up, some riddles are not so hard like a child. So what have you done with it? Why is the robot here? And it's difficult. But I love the games, and when I've heard that Mr. Cecil is here, so I have to interview him.
Yeah,
So
sorry, you've heard?
heard that you are here,
Oh,
so
right.
I have to
Thank you. It's lovely to see you. Thank you
Yes.
for coming along.
No problem. Mr. Cecil, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's lovely to get to chat to you, and I hope you enjoy. One of the things actually that I'd quite like just to add is that it's been great to develop this version for console, and it does have enhancements, some nice enhancements over the original. So we had the opportunity to go back and put in new graphics. So there are birds flying, there are people walking across the scene, background events, a bit more music, a few more sound effects, a gallery of characters, because people said that they don't read diaries, but they do want to get a sense of what's happened before. The ability, what we've done is we've gone through and we've tweaked some of the puzzles that we thought were maybe a little bit unclear. So it's had quite a major overhaul, and as such, it is significantly enhanced on the original PC version.
Oh, great! Great to hear. So I have to try it out, because the murdered person was very at the beginning, so you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, he's still murdered.
Yeah, he's still murdered.
Yeah, he's still murdered. There are no major changes like that, I'm afraid.
It's okay. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. It's been great talking.
Thank you.